Have you ever wondered why two people can start the same day with the same 24 hours? Yet one ends the day with a sense of victory and progress, while the other feels stuck, exhausted, and unsatisfied. This difference rarely comes from talent or luck. It comes from something much smaller, something that happens in the quietest hour of the day before the world even wakes up. The first hour after you open your eyes is like wet clay, ready to be shaped into whatever form you choose. And how you shape it determines the architecture of your entire day. Most people never realize this. They open their eyes, and the first thing they do is grab their phone. Scroll through notifications. Let other people's opinions, emails, and problems dictate the rhythm of their mind. And just like that, they hand over control of their life to the world before they've even taken their first conscious breath. Imagine this for a moment. Your mind in the morning is like a clear lake. The first thought you throw into it is like a stone. It sends ripples that spread into every hour that follows. If that first stone is chaotic, reactive, or full of stress, your day carries the same vibration. But if that first stone is intentional, strong, and focused, it becomes the foundation for energy and clarity that will follow you everywhere. This is why high performers, ancient philosophers, and disciplined warriors have always protected their mornings. They understood that the morning is not just a part of the day. It is the compass that points your entire life in a direction. And if the compass is slightly off, even by a few degrees, you will end the day, the week, and eventually the year in a completely different place than you intended. Think about how you have started most of your mornings in the last week. Were they conscious, or were they automatic? Were they yours, or were they already captured by the world? If you feel like life keeps pulling you in directions you did not choose, the truth is that you are probably losing the battle before the day even begins. The first hour is where either you own the day or the day owns you. If you can win the morning, you can win the day. And when you win enough days in a row, your results, your opportunities, and even your identity start to multiply in ways that feel almost magical. It is in that first hour where you can create the energy, the focus, and the discipline that will spill over into every action that follows. The question is no longer whether you want to achieve more or feel more alive. The real question is, are you willing to protect the first hour of your morning as if your entire future depends on it? The morning carries a power that most people underestimate because it hides in plain sight. It does not arrive with fireworks, and it does not announce itself with applause. It simply waits silently for you to recognize its potential. The world is still, the air feels lighter, and the noise of life has not yet claimed its territory. In that space, your mind is at its sharpest, your willpower is at its strongest, and your heart is most open to new possibilities. Science confirms what ancient wisdom has always whispered. The brain in the early morning operates differently. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making and creativity, is clear of the clutter that piles up as the day goes on. Your hormonal state is naturally aligned for focus and productivity. Cortisol levels are elevated just enough to wake you up. Dopamine is ready to reward progress, and serotonin gives a sense of calm and contentment. It is as if nature itself is offering you a blank canvas every single day. But most people never pick up the brush. Instead, they stumble into their day with the leftover energy from yesterday, carrying the mental dust of unfinished tasks, regrets, and distractions. The first hour of the morning is what I call the golden hour of leverage. Every thought you plant, every movement you make, and every decision you choose to act on multiplies throughout the day. If you start your morning with intention, clarity, and energy, it is like setting up a row of dominoes with perfect alignment. The first push creates a chain reaction that carries you effortlessly toward your goals. On the other hand, if you begin your day passively, reacting to alarms, messages, and the chaos of the outside world, You are scattering those dominoes before they ever have a chance to fall. The reason mornings are so transformative is because they are free from competition. Once the day officially begins, the world competes for your attention. Your phone competes. Your responsibilities compete. People's demands compete. But the early hours, they belong entirely to you. This is the window where focus feels effortless, where habits are easier to anchor, and where progress can be made in silence without resistance. Even the greatest minds and highest achievers in history have guarded their mornings with a kind of sacred discipline. They understood that this time is not just about getting ahead, start on tasks, but about aligning themselves with their purpose before the noise of life interferes. In these quiet moments, the mind has room to expand. Ideas are born with ease, and the body wakes up in harmony instead of panic. If you've ever felt like your days are on repeat, like you are chasing life instead of leading it, the morning is where you can reclaim that leadership. It is the only part of the day where the world bends to you instead of the other way around. And what you choose to do with it determines everything that follows. Most people wake up each morning completely unaware that their first actions are silently sabotaging their entire day. The irony is that these actions feel harmless, even normal, because society has normalized them as part of modern life. Think about what happens the moment an alarm rings for the average person. They hit snooze, drift back into shallow sleep, and start their day with a message to the brain that says, "I am not ready for life yet." This single act, repeated over and over, wires the mind for delay, avoidance, and procrastination long before the day has even begun. Then, as soon as they finally get up, the first thing many people reach for is their phone. With that single swipe, they hand over control of their attention to the world. Notifications, social media feeds, emails, and news headlines bombard the mind before it has had a chance to think for itself. The brain is immediately pulled into reaction mode, chasing other people's priorities, other people's opinions, and other people's problems. From there, the morning spirals into autopilot. A rushed breakfast, a mindless scroll through more digital noise, and a race to get out the door or start work with a nervous system already wired for stress. What they don't realize is that every one of these actions stacks up into a habit loop that sets the tone for the rest of the day. By the time they begin their first meaningful task, they are already depleted, distracted, and reactive. The day feels heavier because it started without intention, without clarity, and without energy. This is why so many people, even those who work hard, feel like their days slip through their fingers. They are fighting uphill against the consequences of a morning lost to unconscious habits. Another silent mistake is allowing the mind to start the day with mental clutter. Waking up and immediately thinking about yesterday's problems, unfinished tasks, or anxieties about the future is like putting a heavy backpack on before you've even taken your first step. Carrying that weight into the day ensures that focus is fragmented, creativity is blocked, and emotional energy is drained. Combine that with stimulants like excess caffeine to shock the body awake instead of naturally energizing it, and you have a recipe for a day dominated by survival instead of growth. These morning mistakes seem small in isolation, but they are compounding. Each one sends a signal to the mind and body that the day is happening to you instead of being created by you. When repeated over months and years, they form an invisible ceiling on performance and happiness. The truth is that most people are not underperforming because they are lazy or untalented. They are underperforming because they start every day in a reactive state that quietly robs them of the clarity, focus, and energy they need to excel. There is a single habit that has the power to shift your life from reactive to intentional, from scattered to laser-focused, and from ordinary results to extraordinary progress. It is not hidden in a secret book, and it is not something only the elite can access. It is a habit that every high performer, every disciplined warrior, and every master of their craft protects with sacred commitment. That habit is taking ownership of the very first hour of your morning and dedicating it to intentional self-alignment. Before the world enters your mind, imagine waking up and instead of reaching for your phone or rushing into the day, you give the first 60 minutes to activities that charge your body, focus your mind, and align your emotions. It is in that hour that you can meditate, move, breathe, visualize, or journal activities that awaken your energy and clarify your direction. This is the hour where you plant the seeds of the day you want to experience. Instead of allowing weeds from the outside world to invade your mental garden to introduce this habit into your life. Picture the transformation as if you are flipping a switch from being a passenger in life to becoming the driver. Most people wake up and immediately let external forces control their internal world. Their emotions are dictated by a notification, an email, or a headline. But when you create a non-negotiable morning habit that is yours and yours alone, you reclaim that control. You tell your mind and body, I lead. I decide how this day will begin. This single shift sends a powerful signal that echoes through the hours that follow, making focus sharper, decisions easier, and actions more deliberate. This habit is powerful, not because it is complicated, but because it is consistent and intentional. A single hour of alignment at the start of the day multiplies the effectiveness of every other hour. It becomes a silent force that makes your work smoother, your conversations more meaningful, and your decisions more confident. This is why many people feel like they are fighting uphill every day. They are starting in disarray, and momentum never works in their favor. But if you start the day with clarity and control, momentum works for you, carrying you forward like a current instead of forcing you to swim against it. The beauty of this habit is that it does not require you to change your entire life overnight. It requires you to make a conscious decision each morning. Before I give my attention to the world, I will give it to myself. It could be as simple as 20 minutes of movement, 20 minutes of reflection, and 20 minutes of focused planning. The specific ritual matters less than the ownership of that time. By honoring this habit, you build a foundation of energy and clarity that compounds day after day, creating results that feel almost effortless because the day bends to your intention instead of your reaction. The reason this single habit has the power to 10x your results lies in the way it rewires both your mind and body to operate at their peak state. When you dedicate your first hour to intentional practices, you are aligning three forces that govern human performance: your physiology, your psychology, and your focus. Physiology is your energy, the fuel that drives every action. When your morning begins with movement, deep breathing, or even a brief moment of stillness, you activate circulation, flood your body with oxygen, and awaken your nervous system. This is like turning on a power plant that will generate energy throughout the day instead of relying on artificial spikes from caffeine and sugar. A body that is awake and energized sends a clear message to the brain. It is time to perform, create, and achieve. Then comes psychology, the state of mind that determines how you interpret every challenge and opportunity. Most people wake up and immediately absorb the noise of the world news, social media, or messages from others, allowing external influences to shape their mental state before they have even set their own. But when you use the morning to reflect, visualize, or set intentions, you create a psychological shield. You begin the day with clarity about who you are and what truly matters, which makes distractions weaker and stress less invasive. This is why people who guard their mornings often seem unshakable. They are not reacting to the world, but operating from a center of calm power they've built in solitude. The third force is focus, the invisible currency of results. Every task you complete, every decision you make, and every outcome you achieve comes from the quality of your focus. The morning is a rare window where your attention is untouched by the demands of life. By channeling that attention into planning, journaling, or tackling a single meaningful task, you are leveraging your mind at its highest efficiency. This is the principle behind exponential results. When you start the day with high-quality focus, you create momentum that compounds as the hours unfold. Small actions taken in a state of clarity and energy produce far greater returns than hours spent in scattered busyness. The science of habit formation also amplifies this effect. Your brain is constantly forming patterns based on repeated behavior. By consistently claiming your first hour for intentional action, you are training your brain to associate mornings with power, ownership, and progress. This pattern bleeds into the rest of the day. Decisions become sharper, procrastination loses its grip, and you naturally gravitate toward actions that align with your goals. What begins as a single hour in the morning ripples outward into every area of life: your work, your relationships, your health, and even your sense of purpose. The compound effect of this alignment is what makes results grow at a pace that feels almost unfair to those still living in reaction mode. Once you understand the transformative potential of claiming your mornings, the final step is to turn awareness into action and action into consistency. It is easy to feel inspired in the moment, to imagine yourself waking up with clarity and owning the first hour of the day. But true change only arrives when intention becomes a daily ritual. This is where the power of commitment reveals itself. Your mornings are the foundation of your life's results, and building that foundation requires that you protect it as if everything you desire depends on it, because it does. The first day you rise with intention will feel different, lighter, almost like the day bends to your will instead of pushing against you. But the real magic happens when this is no longer a single day, but a chain of days that form a habit so strong it becomes part of who you are. Consistency is what converts a single powerful hour into exponential growth. One intentional morning might make you feel focused. 2 might give you a sense of control, but 30 consecutive days will start to shift your identity. You will no longer see yourself as someone struggling to manage the day. You will feel like the architect of your own life. Opportunities will begin to appear because your actions and mindset are aligned with clarity. People will notice that your energy is different, that your presence commands attention without effort, that you seem to have more time and more progress than anyone else around you. These external results are simply reflections of the internal transformation that began with one choice: to own your morning instead of surrendering it. The call to action is simple but profound. Choose to become unavailable to the chaos of the world for the first hour of your day. Make it a rule that before you open your phone, before you open your door, you open yourself. Move your body to awaken your energy, still your mind to claim your focus, and set an intention that guides every action that follows. The world will try to interrupt you. Excuses will whisper that you can skip one day without consequence. But every morning is a declaration of who you are becoming, and skipping it is a declaration as well. When you protect this time, you are telling yourself and the universe that your growth is not negotiable. This habit does not require perfection. It requires persistence. Even on days when you feel tired, even when life presses with demands rising. To meet your morning ritual is an act of self-respect and self-leadership. And with each day that you honor it, you add another layer to the invisible structure of discipline, focus, and energy that will carry you to the results most people only dream about. The moment you make this habit non-negotiable is the moment your days stop happening to you and start happening for you. Every single day, life gives you a silent invitation to lead, to grow, and to create results that reflect the best version of yourself. That invitation arrives in the first hour of your morning, and whether you accept it or ignore it determines the quality of your day your work, and eventually, your life. Most people will continue to let the world write the first line of their persistent line of their day. They will start in reaction, spend their hours in distraction, and wonder why their results never change. But you now hold the key to a different path. You know that the most powerful habit is to claim that first hour, to protect it, and to use it as the launching pad for energy, clarity, and unstoppable focus. If you begin tomorrow differently, you rise with intention, move with purpose, and dedicate that first hour to yourself, you will feel the shift immediately. Days will no longer slip through your fingers because you will be leading them instead of chasing them. And the longer you honor this habit, the more life will begin to respond to your discipline. Opportunities will open, results will multiply, and the version of you that once felt distant will become your reality. So I leave you with this: tomorrow morning, when the world is still asleep, rise, claim that first hour, give it to yourself before you give it to anyone else. Do it once, then do it again, and then keep doing it until it becomes part of your identity. Because the moment you decide to lead your mornings is the moment you begin to lead your life.